Photographer types. There are 4 photographer type personalities. They are the ISTJ, the ESTJ, the INFP, and the ENFP. They all have these 4 cognitive functions: SI, or introverted sensing, TE, or extroverted thinking, FI, or introverted feeling, and NE, or extroverted intuition. They are called photographer types because they can capture a snapshot of reality. Come as you are, as you were. This does not mean that these types have some secret access to the truth, nor are they always accurate, reliable, or honest. What it means is that they tell it how it is. They do not add unnecessary details the way that painter types do. Painters embellish things and sometimes fabricate stories entirely. Photographer types do not typically do this. There are pros and cons to both approaches. Painter types often tell more vivid and entertaining tales, since they can just make things up. Photographer types, however, are much more down to earth, and their accounts are much more realistic, at the cost of being less entertaining. ISTJ's dominant function is introverted sensing, so they focus on the sensory details. I will reiterate, photographer types are not storytellers, whereas an ISFJ can paint a flowery narrative when describing something.
It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frugal. Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't. They kept going. There's some good in this world, Mr. Frugal, and it's worth fighting for.
The recollections of the ISTJ is more like reading an instruction manual.
Like the time I caught the ferry over to Shelbyville, I needed a new heel for my shoe. So I decided to go to Morganville, which is what they call Shelbyville in those days. So I tied an onion to my belt, which was the style at the time. Now, to take the ferry cost a nickel, and in those days, nickels had pictures of bumblebees on them.
It is more factual, but not a very engaging read. If you want the most accurate and specific account about something, you cannot do any better than listening to an ISTJ. However, their weak points are extroverted feeling and introverted intuition. This means they have trouble reading the room and often don't really have a point that they are ultimately trying to make. This means they often ramble on forever and are oblivious that everyone around them is falling asleep.
I thought it would be very droll if we all sat down and looked at etchings.
2 hours later.
Now, who here likes a good story about a bridge?
But nevertheless, they can capture reality to an insane degree. ESTJ's dominant function is extroverted thinking, so they focus on efficiency. They want to get things done and maintain order. They are bossy, and they tell you the reality of the role they want you to play.
Put an ad on the front page. Cash money for a picture of Spider-Man. He doesn't want to be famous, and I'll make him infamous.
Their weak points are introverted intuition and extroverted feeling, which means they are unsure of their ultimate goal, and they really could care less about the feelings of others.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
This means ESTJs often burn bridges, ruining relationships, just to have some level of control over the trivial aspects of others' lives.
You're making me pay you to stand at the cash register? What is the meaning of this?
But they are experts at instructing people on what they need to do. INFP's dominant function is introverted feeling, so they focus on their convictions, their beliefs. Because of their unwavering dedication, their stubbornness, they often have a fatalistic view on life.
Why are we still here? suffer.
In keeping with the photography theme, they Photoshop life in a negative manner. They tend to put a tragic spin on the reality they present. I will stress that they do not fabricate additional information like INTPs often do, but they present life in a glass half empty sort of way.
It's an awful nice tale, Kanga. Much nicer than the rest of me.
Not much of a house. Just right for not much of a donkey.
INFPs can be quite depressing to be around as a result, but it also means the photos they take have a very human dimension to them. Their weak points are extroverted sensing and introverted thinking. This means the sensory world can play tricks on them.
There isn't an opening. That's just wall. There's no way through.
Things are not always what they seem in this place.
Hey!
And their logic is very flawed. This can make INFPs annoyingly distrusting, unreasonable, and disagreeable. The plus side to this, however, is they are willing to take pictures of the more unsavory aspects of life, making them the most honest and authentic type in some ways.
Streets are uneven when you're down.
ENFP's dominant function is extroverted intuition, so they focus on the wants of others and are open to new ideas. In direct opposition to the INFP, ENFPs view life in a glass half full sort of way. They can be uplifting to be around as a result, but it also means they tend to over-romanticize things. They always put a lighthearted spin on the reality they present. Their weak points are introverted thinking and extroverted sensing, meaning their logic is inconsistent and they are often completely oblivious to the sensory world.
That truck was nowhere near me.
This can make them a bit detached and delusional, but also means they always see the bright side of life.
Always look on the light side of life.
ENFPs are the most likely of the bunch to be mistaken for a painter type, as their takes can be so wild and ridiculous that you assume that they must be lying and fabricating information, but it's simply their ability to put a cheery, happy filter over any attempt at capturing reality. They are not storytellers. They are just so positive that they overlook the unflattering details. The only lies they are guilty of telling are lies of omission. In conclusion, these four photographer types capture reality and tell you how it is. The ISTJ in a neutral way, the INFP in a negative lens, the ENFP in a positive light, and the ESTJ makes you pose for the camera. Despite all being photographer types, they each have their own angle. Our acculturation continues.